Here is a picture of father and daughter. She means all to him. She's the light of a star. She is the future, as the cliché goes. But to him, she's also the possibility of a past he never had. One in which every day is a day of peace and not, as it was for him, the time of unending war and ruin. Here is a picture of father and daughter. Here you see a moment in time, but also now time, no time, the untimely. This is a momentary glimpse of a possible future and a reopening of the past, the light of a star. Here is a picture of father and daughter. Here is an anomalous alliance between father and daughter, between the primitive past, which has no time, and the future, which is all time to come. It has been said that the image of happiness we cherish is thoroughly colored by the time to which the cause of our existence has assigned us. In other words, the idea of happiness is indissolubly bound with the idea of redemption and liberation. The same applies to the idea of the past. Indeed, the past carries with it a secret index. Doesn't the photon that touched the father's face and the daughter's face in this picture touch your face and my face right now? In the voices we hear and the sounds we dance to, isn't there an echo of now silent ones, the voices and dances of the missing ones and the resistant dead? If so, then it is true what has been said, that there is a secret agreement between past generations and the present one, and there will be no progress for as long as the remnants of the resistant dead that have suffered remain unfulfilled and without completion. We must ask, how can we pass from no time and now time to all the time? The answer is we should aim for these momentary glimpses of past and future to become indelible. Reformation 2. It is the light of a star, the light we must move towards, the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel? Or is it rather the explosion of a supernova, threatening to consume everything and lead us only to ruin? We're not allowed to answer, for ours is not the view of the angel of history suspended in mid-air, whose mouth and eyes wide open contemplate only one single ruin. The angel would like to stay, awaken the dead, and make whole what has been smashed. But a storm is blowing from paradise and has caught him unaware. This storm, called progress, drives him irresistibly into the future to which his back is turned, while the pile of debris before him grows towards the sky. We no longer have the luxury of that view, for we're not the angel, we are the debris. Reformation 3. Not the angel, not even God would bother coming here. During the days of unending war in Bogota, the city was lost to me. Turning its back, the city closed itself to my eyes and ears. It surrounded me, but never faced me. The solitude around imposed upon me a background of meaning. The city was human, but cried like a caged animal. It had become a black box. I was the cat within it. Many years ago, I was a kid in Colombia who spent long afternoons during the summer break working at his Aunt Clara's shop. The shop sold colors, creams, and slimming girdles made by the present-day incarnations of what once was IG Farben, the most powerful and richest chemical and cosmetics maker in the world. Colors, creams, and girdles promised unwary passers-by all sorts of magical effects. In they came, dead city dwellers. Out they went, made up, alive. It is true that in most cities, reality is defined by whether you are dead or alive, but not in Bogota. To begin with, it rains too much. The city turns gray, and you cannot see, for it rains lead and heavy metals. Then there is the apotheosis of war, which appear before our eyes as a pyramid of debris and buried boxes piled high like a colossus in the central square. There were no remains in those boxes, an artwork of the future, but in it, the people are missing. Reformation 4, consider the artwork of the future in the age of an ending war. It can only be understood in relation to what has been called before apotheosis. The term has two meanings. First, deification. Second, quintessence. Ever since violence and war became our one and only true religion, it has been impossible to know with certainty whether to count ourselves among the living or for how long. Life and death have become matters of probability, not so much in the sense of a game of chance or a throw of the dice, but rather in the aesthetic sense that fables invented by purely contingent means, the same way collectors go about collecting and detectives solve their cases, provide us with as much conviction as historical examples. The second meaning of apotheosis is quintessence. There is a painting painted in 1871 by Vereshchagin called precisely The Apotheosis of War, which he dedicated to all conquerors past, present, and to come. This is a new version of it, and here is Vereshchagin. That image, more real than reality itself, evokes the quintessence of our reality. For us in the painting, the reality of our war-torn cities began to look more and more like a zombie apocalypse. An art of the future, to be sure, but in it, the people are missing. Reformation 5. Let us call the subjective effect of a landscape torn apart by war and violence a coup de funk, with a nod to Vereshchagin's 1871 painting, the late Jean Berger, and the 1970s and 80s music nostalgia of Baz Luhrmann and the Duffer Brothers. This notion sums up my feeling of that summer in the Upside during the apotheosis of war in Colombia. It was a long, lonely, silent season, a mess, the funk. While on a hunting expedition to the back of the shop, I found a stack of books. Crime Stories by Edgar Allan Poe in Julio Cortázar's translation. Dashiell Hammett's The Maltese Falcon. Burroughs' Cities of the Red Night, a compendium of mysteries penned by one Horacio Bustos Domecq, and the wonderful Parisian detective Lemmy Caution. That summer, I played my funk mixtape on and on and on and danced. And danced and danced and danced. The summer of solitude was about to be saved by Pulp Fiction, and then my cousin went missing. Common sense dictates, this is Reformation 6, that a missing person is either dead or alive. Yet, during our youth, we invented a word for them, a special word. It connotes the fact that they remain in a state of entanglement, like the famous cat in the infamous box, los desaparecidos, the missing ones. There were thousands during the apotheosis of war in Colombia. My cousin Hugo was just one of them. His mother would come to the shop and tell me that on Sunday morning, when she was still in bed, a bird flew in. Mistaking a huge photograph of a forest for the real thing, it circled the room, saw his error, and flew back out the window past the orange trees to alight on a high-voltage wire. Were those the real trees or the photographed ones? My aunt didn't say, but she believed the bird was her boy. For her, Hugo was neither dead nor completely alive. For her, as for Emily Dickinson, hope became a thing with feathers. Others called them the resistant dead.